Hi, I'm Joshua Farley.
And I'm Marcus Soto.
And this is Inside Our Industry, where we share weekly insights on everything to do with the electric and solar industry, contracting, and best practices. Part 2. Black, red, blue. Electrician has made big errors. Help. Is that MC cable ground?
What?
I just wish I had some context on these things. So it's recessed flush mount, right? Mm-hmm. Flush mount. So this may not be a flush mount can. Looks like it. That's an indoor rated can. Look at the lid.
Oh,
it's got
yeah.
the screws on the outside. So he definitely did make some big mistakes. So here we got an outdoor panel location, but using an indoor panel. And you can tell by the cover.
Yeah.
Electricians, if you're an electrician, you know. If you're not, you don't know what the hell you're looking at. So this cover here is not a weatherproof cover. Obviously the can is not a weatherproof can. I mean, yeah, it's just wrong. So, and I'm guessing this is outside because we've got weatherproof here, an in-use cover here. But there's definitely no room for that cover to be in there.
I don't even know if that cover is actually going to go on there because that's just butted up right against. So is that butted up right up against it.
Looks like that it's an MC cable. It comes up, or is that just tape? Maybe it's tape? I don't know. Is that tape?
No, it looks like MC. You can see the ribs in it, but it's going to just like a ground, like a lug.
Zoom in.
I was just thinking, like, why is there two? The only thing I could think is like if there's two units that are separate, but then I would think that there'd be two separate electrical panels somewhere, or another electrical panel somewhere.
Well, it's like a duplex, right?
Yeah.
So a duplex. Yeah. So like this is the one of the duplexes has to house the meters, right?
Right.
So it's like one common area where the service comes in, houses the meters is that guy.
Gotcha.
And the guy that's there is getting a shitty electrical job. And I'll tell you another thing. When I look for electrical work, or if I'm looking at somebody's work, when guys apply to our business, I ask for a picture of their tools. I do that because electricians use certain tools. And when I see a picture like this where there's a Craftsman screwdriver in the panel, I know that that's not an electrician. There's only a few brands an electrician will carry in his bag, and it ain't Craftsman. That shit should be Klein. Number one, Klein. If you're an electrician, you should be housing some Klein. I'll accept a Greenlee. I've seen a Greenlee here and there. Or Southwest tools like Southwire. Southwire.
Yeah.
But that's not electrician. And the Romexes, right? Like, we didn't even look. Like, it's a residential single phase. We knew that. Like, we knew it's a duplex. But, like, and the Romexes are just run down, like, all the way to the bus before they tear the sheathing off. Except for that one. That one's, like, way over there. All right, sorry. An interesting discovery today. Well, looking at your username, it could be anything, right? Like, interesting discovery today under my couch pillow. All right.
Oh, yeah?
Can you guys read that?
Dear future tenant, we didn't put this photo here. It was here upon arrival. We didn't remove it as she seems quite content locked away in the electrical panel. We feared her spirit may come to haunt our precious home. Please take care of her for us, former tenant. I've never opened an electrical panel and found a Polaroid picture of a naked girl. No. I mean, she's not like totally naked, but she's got no bottoms on.
Right. That's definitely never happened to me.
Is that the good, like, if you're going to have a naked chick, and you only get to choose 50% of her, which part would you choose, the bottom or the top?
Do you think that we can make this like a thing where there's naked pictures of girls inside of electrical panels just hanging out?
Do
you think we can create a standard of this?
Can we just call it the Polaroid discount? They've got this taped in here. I assume that this is like stuck in there.
Yeah.
So they just turned it over because it was probably... I was going to say it probably was installed upside down, but it can't be because somebody wrote unless they installed it upside down, which a lot of people do. If you don't look ahead, so you're not like 2 steps ahead of your brain, right, to see which way
and then they wrote it in.
And then they got the panel cover off and wrote it all in, and then went to go, we'll just put it in upside down. So there's some rookie mistake, but I'll allow it.
Right? I'll allow it.
I'll give you the Polaroid discount on that one. This just fell a foot away from me.
Bird.
Oh, yeah. Are we guessing? Tree.
Oof.
Oh no, a ceiling fan. Oh shit.
Oh.
That's the box cover. Jesus. That's the box cover for a can light.
For a light, yeah.
For a can light. I mean, look at it. It's stuck right into his wood. Although, somebody dropped that. Somebody's up there fucking with shit and it fell. Like,
right.
And somebody's down here going, oh shit, like I need to have my hard hat on.
That went into the wood a little bit far for me. Like somebody hammered it or threw it. I think it might be staged. Does
that look bent from a hammer?
No.
Some of those boxes.
That's not heavy though.
Dude,
that thing's so light.
You know how many times I cut my fucking hands on like the metal on that shit, just trying to get stuff in
Right.
there?
Yeah. Scrape them up for sure. Yeah.
It might be a bigger, more industrial. It looks like a commercial. I want to say it looks like a commercial environment. And I say that because of the MC cable that I see in the back, or the BX.
Yeah.
You know, some people call it BX, some people call it Greenfield. We call it MC cable here in Arizona, or Flex. Maybe it's just a Flex. I can't. But the wood studs can be used anywhere. Like, it can be used anywhere.
Right.
On a multifamily apartment housing, like some of that residential is got to be run in MC cable. It's got to be commercial rated. That's unavoidable. You got to be like the guy that's working in the ceiling dropped that shit or left it over there. But
safety first. Wear your hard hat.
Wear your hard hat. Let's see. The main blue at a restaurant I worked at during a big memorial event, and this was their fix.
Hooters.
DVD CRL SN. David Carlson?
Applebee's?
Oh, we get some restaurants.
No, I don't know.
During a big memorial. Like, somebody died?
Unfortunately, we're probably not even going to be able to figure out what the restaurant is.
So the main blue, and their fix was just throw a fan on it? It looks like you have a residential, it looks like somebody's house panel, like a home panel.
You just got bottles of wine right in front of this electrical panel, too?
But all these Romexes in here, that shit's not allowed. It's a commercial location. You can't have that stuff.
So they're thinking that this main blue because of heat, and they put a fan on it? It's also cut open up here at the top.
How long do you think till it trips again?
You know?
How long is that fan going to... How much time is that fan going to give them?
If you really want to cool that down quick, you just throw some cold water, maybe some ice water on it. Something like that, you know? Just get it cool.
Interesting story. Tell me more. What kind of salt water? What kind of water do you suggest? Aquafina?
I think Dasani works a little bit. Dasani, yeah.
Dasani.
Yeah.
It's the yogurt water, right? Somebody used to say that. I don't know why.
Maybe.
Fan's not going to fix anything, and you're in the wrong spot. Like, this is not a business. There's a lot of shit that happens out there without the city being involved. So a lot of times, most of the time, the city's just looking to fucking get money, right? There's a lot of money grab from the city. Every time you go install a brick, every time you do this, every time you, like, pay us. I mean, we've got, I don't know how many fucking times we pull permits. I mean, we pull them on every job. We pull permits, you know, and they send the inspector out, and he doesn't know shit about electrical.
Oh my gosh, it happens a lot.
My license is what gives me the expert. Like, I'm the license holder for our company, and that's what gives. We've proven ourselves to be the expert in the field. So we do everything to code. My license is at stake on every fucking job. We're doing everything by the code book. But paying the inspector to come out and go, what is that? Like, that feels the asinine to me, and that's probably what happened. Probably some drywall installer turned city inspector, came out and gave him, that looks right. It looks like all the houses I've done.
It happens pretty often that we're going through this with inspectors teaching them something when it comes to electrical code. Oh my gosh.
It's part of their job, right? It's part of their job description when they hired on the job training by the fucking contractors in the field. You should be paying us to teach your fucking inspector. No, not in the right spot. No. Not a good fix. Gonna trip again.
It's definitely
just a matter of time.
It's definitely not in the right spot. You want the fan blowing from this angle instead of.
And Dasani's your best choice to cool a panel down.
Don't do that.
Don't pour water into an electrical fire or an electrical panel.
This popped up on my Facebook last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Like this meme?
Yeah.
Like they've got people looking for this fucking thing?
Yeah. This popped up on my Facebook, and I read it, and I thought it was like fake or not. Like, I thought it was like gonna be a joke. Like, this stuff was gonna. Nope. They got people looking for these.
But let's be real. That's not gonna work. Like,
right.
It's just gonna blow your hand up. Like, or make your hand feel. Actually, your body doesn't even carry a load. It probably won't blow it up. It's just it'll feel like until you get off of it. But depending on how close and if your hands are moist, it could just go ahead and pop that breaker. So why are there so many people looking for this plug that Ace Hardware, which we never go to unless that's the only fucking, like if I'm out of town and that's the only thing in town that's like Maricopa, that's all they have is that Ace Hardware. There's no Home Depot or Lowe's or supply houses like. Yeah. But why are there so many people looking for this plug that you have to put a sign up? If you need this kind of adapter, you have hung your lights incorrectly. Restring or run an extension cord to the other end. Oh, is this like for Christmas lights? Or like people running, they were like hanging the Christmas light, and now they can't plug it together because they put male to male or female
to female. Yeah.
Fucking stupid. These fucking guys.
They're like, okay.
There are that many homeowners that don't know to plug it in as they go.
Right.
They're just out there doing shit, and then they're like, now I got 2 ends. How do I make them work?
So in this story, you started running the Christmas lights from this direction, and your wife started running them from this direction, which we both already know isn't the case because
right, she doesn't get on the ladder. Right. But yes.
Then they met in the middle, and they're like, oh, we have to go get this adapter from Ace Hardware now.
Right. So obviously this doesn't work, right? So the minute that you have, if you start it on one side and you run your cord, you plug your cord in and you run it up. Tip number 1, plug your Christmas lights in while you're putting them up because you're going to be really pissed off when you're done and go to plug them in and half that shit don't work.
Tip number 2, test them. Plug them in inside the house or somewhere before you even start with that.
Plug them in, test them. Start with one. Plug it in. Go. Run your stuff. Take the next one. Plug it in. Go run your stuff. If this was involved, right, so if you did start from one side to the other, you've got the one power coming from one source. Now you plug this adapter in. Now there's a prong sitting out there with a hot and a neutral.
Yep.
What is grounding versus bonding, especially with separately derived systems? And what a separately derived system actually is. So grounding is the earth bond. Like that's the earth ground. Like everything wants to go back to the earth, right? So we follow this path of least resistance, but this path of charge kind of always wants to find its way back to the earth. So what we do is we use ground bars, ground rods, grounding to take that path and protection from the earth to our equipment. So we get it from the utility comes through without a ground. Mm-hmm. So we derive our own ground from the location that our system is going to be in. So ground rods when we're changing electrical panels in a residence, there'll be either a UFR, which is a wire that is inside the concrete. It's buried in the concrete and it's in the National Electric Code. We'll throw the code up. And it comes out to the electrical panel, bonding that system for that neutral and all those current carrying conductors to have a path to ground for in case of emergency and protection.
Yep.
Or if they don't have a UFR, there's usually a ground rod. If they don't have that, we've got to drive 2 ground rods in is the code now. One close to the panel, and then within 7 feet away, we want another one, and we've got to run all that. Then bonding is what takes all of the equipment in your house, devices, boxes, fixtures, all that stuff kind of brings it back to ground, right? It gives that path. So all the grounding that's happening, all the green wires that are going out that's happening from the earth, right, from the can that we brought that earth ground to is now bonding everything in the house. So we bond the water, we bond the gas, we bond anything that electricity could have access to, right?
It could touch it. So what that does is it sends that electricity through that device, whatever it is that we're bonding, to ground, and it overloads that circuit to turn it off.
And that's because that electricity needs the path. In order to protect you, it needs a path back to the source. So like for plumbing example, for water bonding example, if electrical hot got on a water pipe and it didn't have a path to ground, it could essentially energize that water pipe, which makes all the water in your house energized.
So I've actually been to a service call where there was electricity on the the spigot for the shower because a screw came loose in an air conditioner and fell in the air conditioner and hit the ground, and it sat perfectly on the ground and one of the hot legs for the air conditioner and didn't trip anything, and it shot power into the water system.
Well, that ground didn't go. It must not have been bonded. Like,
Yep.
It must not have went back. That's some crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So that's why we take those paths, so you could get in your pool or your shower or any of those things safely, given the current code and the current requirements on breakers and ratings and all that. It depends on the system. The differences between bonding and grounding, and then and how that works in a separate derived system. All that stuff can be found in the National Electric Code. So, we've got the 2017 is really the current one we're using. I've got a 2020 on my desk, but this is the current one we're using. All that stuff lives in Article 250. So you think about Article 250 is based just for grounding and bonding. Article 250.30, it covers what to bond and ground in the separately derived system, and there are exclusions, and you have to go through and find what's right for your particular project. So check it out. If you have something more specific, like get granular with it, comment and we'll tackle it. Thanks, Angry Sparky. I just read YR, and then I read his name. Like, I went, why are electricians semi-retarded? Like, I went, not fully, but like, why are electricians semi-retarded? Well, they're not. Okay, electricians are the smartest human beings on the planet. Why are electricians the smartest, toughest, most well-endowed of all tradesmen? And most humble. There are a few of those that want to be revered as smartest, toughest, most well-endowed, and the most humble tradesman of all, but they're probably just drywall guys.
Or plumbers.
That was a good one, fully semi-retarded. MCX, all right. How ground down hot top is the right way to install? Oh, so the best way to ask that question is, what is the right way to install an outlet? Ground down or hot? Like, I don't understand. The last thing you want to compromise is the ground and your neutral. If something of metal falls on the hot and the neutral, let it short out. The last thing you want to compromise is the ground and your neutral. If something of metal falls on the hot and the neutral, let it short out. And how hacky and bullshit is it to use receptacle terminals as a splice point, which very likely can lead to getting killed off an open neutral situation? Well, I don't know about that. Okay?
Right.
So if you look at any outlet, and it really depends on where you're from. So I've been in areas of the United States that they've got them ground up. Ground's always facing up. So, but here in Arizona, everything is ground down, where everybody likes to look at this guy's face. It's got two eyes and a mouth. Like, they're like, ooh, right? So this is an old outlet that's just sitting over there off a remodel. So this is how Arizonans install outlets. Whereas it's got two eyes and a mouth, and the ground is down.
You got a neutral, and then your hot wire, and then your ground's down here.
Yep.
The mouth.
This is the way that the originally started for these things to be installed. This one, I was gonna tell you, look at the writing from the manufacturer. Actually, this writing is now upside down from the manufacturer. But most of the manufacturers today are making them like this is the proper way. This package here shows the outlet ground up from the manufacturer. So the manufacturer's specification is what you need to follow. So this manufacturer here, all of his diagrams on the back of this Legrand shows that outlet ground up. You open an outlet up and you read the label on the tabs that are outside of under the cover, those all show the outlet ground up. Same thing with this one. So this one, new one's ground. This one's all ground up. Now, some of your old receptacles would have them this way, and they'd be facing right way, like where the label, everything would show it like this way.
Yep. And then even the triangle wouldn't be a straight triangle if you flipped it around the other way.
Right. So it's fascinating to me because industry standard in Arizona, at least where we are, this is how an outlet is installed, upside down. And it's upside down. There's only certain places that require them to be installed, like per manufacturer spec. It's like if you're getting crazy, hospitals, any of this stuff. So there's definite advantages to follow the manufacturer's recommendation. And typically is if there's something were to get between the device and the plug. So let's say the plug is in here and it's like hanging out and there's a, you got a gap of your wire exposed. If something were to fall down there, it would essentially hit the ground first. If it knocked around to the ground and the thing, you're almost protected. But in most scenarios, the neutral is bonded to the ground. In actuality, sometimes that neutral path could be the same path as the ground, goes back to protection, causes those breakers to trip and keep things from going crazy. But as far as that goes, I mean, we install them like this. Everybody likes to see that face. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what's up? But the proper way, manufacturer spec is the proper way to do anything. And the National Electric Code tells you that. So install them how you want, like how you're used to, how your inspector says, how your customer looks. Like, what is the manufacturer specification? That's the proper way. But I used to install these.
Ultimately, that's what the answer is, right? Is whatever the manufacturer says however the manufacturer says their device should be installed, that's the answer.
Correct. But I went into a person's house years ago when I was just learning, and I put them all in where I could see the words on the manufacturer were right side up to me, which makes me, when I was learning, I was like, this is the right way to do it. And I got yelled at by the client and by my foreman because the client was mad. Right. My foreman didn't know if it was, he didn't tell me, but he just got mad, and so we turned them all over. I had to go turn them all over.
Yeah.
As far as how hacky is the bullshit, and bullshit is it to use the did you want to?
This is, we also had this last week. You remember last week we had something fell in and shorted out a receptacle? Oh, yeah. There was a picture that we talked about last week that was all burnt up at the top. Looked like something had fell in between them, hit the hot and the neutral, and burned up. So that's what he's talking about.
On the last show?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so, and then skipping on. So how hacky and bullshit is it to use receptacle terminals as a splice point? So in your residential stuff, this is a 20 amp, so it's not going to happen. But a lot of your residential stuff, you can put multiple wires into a push, like the push.
The stab-on.
Stab-in, yes. Yeah. There's a stab-on connector where you can just put, and they're using that receptacle. The minute you put more than one wire on the side, you're using this receptacle terminals as a splice point. So what he's talking about is preference for me, for a lot of people that do service work, that has to go back and look at it after the fact, because realistically, there's no way to even get yourself in a situation where there's possible harm if you turn everything off when you're working on it. But you're not going to do it in a new construction situation when you're putting them in right the first time. But in a service situation, we like to see all the multiple wires coming into wire nuts and then having that jump off, using a
pigtail.
Using a pigtail to go to the device, so the device only has one set of wires, and if we were to cut those, it wouldn't kill power to anything else. But you want to turn everything off, test it before you work on it. That'll keep you from getting killed.
And some of these devices also, if you're feeding two into those stab-in areas and the device goes bad, some of them it'll actually make it so that it stops feeding further down the road. Some of the devices. But if you pigtail everything, it's only
device.
That device will go bad.
If you put it on the device, it is what it is. Like, the device is your fucking wire nut.
Right,
And I think it is kind of hacky and bullshit, right? But right now in residential homes, everything's getting plugged right in the back. It's fast. How can we do it faster, cheaper, whatever?
Yeah.
That's it. Have a good day.